So that's, that was Gerhardt, and I enjoyed very much talking to him.
Yeah,
It was just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
So,
Are you going to talk to George?
George Niebank,
Niebank.
he's on my list.
I think he lives down in South Carolina.
Does he?
That's what I heard. He lived at, what was the name of the resort down there? The island?
Bill Wright today said he had his address. And I made Bill Wright chairman of the committee to find and bring back George Niebank for our annual event.
I haven't seen George since law school.
George was back a couple years ago,
Oh,
apparently visiting Jimmy Niebank's widow.
well, my wife knew Jim,
Okay.
maybe from high school, I'm not sure. She pointed him out one day in a restaurant. There's Jim leaving. Now, she's 4 years younger than I am. Maybe that's the right age. I'm not sure.
Yeah. But, yes, George, we're trying to get a hold of him to have him come back as part of this Jackson
Okay.
thing. Gene Gerhardt come and
Yeah.
talk about him.
Yeah.
I wrote a letter yesterday to
Yeah.
Chief Justice Rehnquist because he clerked for Jackson.
Yeah. Is he available?
Well, I hope at least he'll write something. No, he's not available. The court's still in session. That'd be great.
Yeah.
But hopefully I get something back on reminiscences.
Okay.
So it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And you fit every category when we were talking about it. How were you? Just as a background, were you destined to be a lawyer?
Did what?
Were you destined to be a lawyer? Your dad
No, I
being in
didn't
the
make up
practice?
my mind to be a lawyer until I was a senior in high school.
Is that right? So your dad didn't say, "Hey, Phil, you're going to be a lawyer"?
Oh, he didn't ever twist my arm.
No.
No.
So then, where'd you go from there? You went to law school, Buffalo, and then when you came back, you worked with your dad.
No, I was in the service for 2 years.
What did you?
I got drafted when I was a senior,
Mhm.
and I got a short deferment to finish. Then they grabbed me. I went in the Air Force instead of the Army, but
Yeah.
anyway, that's what happened.
So you're in the Air Force,
Yeah.
and came back. Were you at a time period where you had? Did you finish your 3 years? 3 years or 3 years of law school then?
But what?
Was it 3 years of law school then?
I finished regular law school.
Yeah. So I know a lot of folks I talked to only had 2 years because they were part of the service. Certain things were waived.
Well, Sherry, he may have had his 3 years in law school, but he didn't take the bar.
I know.
He got grabbed as a reservist and didn't get a chance to take the bar. I unfortunately did get a chance, so I had to pass it.
He told me that. I've never forgiven him for that. That's sort of a rite of passage. Everybody should have to take the bar.
No, he didn't.
So then you came back here. When did you come back? What year?
53.
53. And did you work with your dad then?
Yeah, from then on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're interfacing with Bob Jackson. Did your dad practice with Bob at all?
Oh, no, my dad came back in 29, and Jackson was here till 33.
And what was Jackson? Did your dad ever talk about what Jackson's reputation was here as a lawyer?
Oh, the highest.
The highest, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, he had all the talent.
Who worked with Jackson? Who worked with him? Was he had partners when he was here?
Oh, of course, Erickson the lead, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What brought your dad back here? Was he a native?
Oh, he grew up in Ellington.
Did he?
Yeah.
Where did he?
What kind of questions you going to ask along the way here?
Okay.
This isn't running now, is it?
No.
No.
Well, then let's get started here then. On the Jackson, Robert Jackson. You actually heard him speak a couple of times, right?
Yes, that's right.
And what was
I
those
did.
occasions?
Well, the first time was at Federation of Bar Associations meeting at the hotel
Mm-hmm.
when I was not yet in law school.
Mm-hmm.
The second time was his Mitchell lecture in 1951 at the law school.
Did he talk about the Nuremberg experience at all? Do you remember that?
No. I just can't remember what he talked about the first time.
Yeah.
But the second time it was, it's published right here. The title is Wartime Security and Liberty Under Law.
I'll be darned.
This is a picture of Jackson at that time.
Oh, really? Were you impressed with the fact?
Oh, yes, very much so.
Did you tell everybody you were from Jamestown and so was he?
No, I didn't do anything like that.
Did you have a chance to meet him at all?
No more than shake hands.
Shake hands?
Nope.
Then you had a chance to, and he died in October of 1954.
Mm-hmm.
And tell me about the funeral.
I wasn't inside the church
No?
because I was out in the car taking to be transportation up to Frewsburg, and after the ceremony down there, we went back to Moonbrook.
Mm-hmm. Now, what happened was after everybody went down to the cemetery in Frewsburg, did you drive anybody down?
No.
No?
We had a lot of cars lined up, and the people that wanted to go to the cemetery rode in earlier cars in the procession.
Yeah.
So I just drove myself.
You've done it? Who were the pallbearers? Do you remember?
Don't remember.
Remember that? Was it a big ceremony at the cemetery itself?
I think the church was full.
Yeah.
Has anybody told you about the step to Tom Dewey?
No, tell me.
Tom Dewey thought they weren't showing him enough respect.
Is that right?
Oh, he made quite a scene.
How did that happen?
I don't know exactly what he said, but he made it known that he was unhappy.
Because of seating arrangements?
Whatever.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what he thought was shorted, but that's what he was talking about.
No, I hadn't.
He wasn't invited to Moonbrook, I'm sure.
Oh, no. So then from the cemetery, you then drove to Moonbrook? Or you went to Moonbrook?
To Moonbrook,
Yeah.
right.
What was happening there? Was it just a reception?
Lunch?
Lunch?
Yeah.
Was there an actual program there?
Not really. A few remarks, but nothing very strong. As we walked in, Earl Warren was in the hallway. Everybody told you about that?
No.
He said, "I'm Earl Warren." Shake your hands. How do you do, Mr. Chief Justice? Charlie Mastretta was behind me, and the procedure was to tell him about that. So I said, "This is Charlie Mastretta. How do you do, Mr. Mastretta? I'm Earl Warren."
What about some of the other judges? Did they intermingle among the lawyers?
Who?
The other justices, did they?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. During the lunch, they were spread out one at a table or something as far as they went.
Did you sit with any of the justices?
Black.
Black?
Yeah.
He was no fan of Jackson's, was he?
No, but he was very charitable at that lunch. He said that there was quite a difference in Jackson after he had his heart attack.
Mm-hmm.
Before that, he had a lot of fire to him, but afterward, he was slowed down a little bit.
Were you involved in taking any of the justices around the lake at all?
No.
No?
No, I didn't realize that happened.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to meet like William Douglas or Felix Frankfurter?
Oh, yes. I shook hands with Douglas and two or three of the others.
Was there any sense of awe when you were in there?
Very much.
Yeah.
Everybody was tongue-tied.
Yeah, there?
Yeah. No, there was very much so.
I'll tell you one story John Goodell said.
Uh-huh.
John said he went up and introduced himself to Earl Warren.
Uh-huh.
And Chief Justice Warren had dinner with Charlie Goodell
Oh.
earlier. And so rather than say, "Dear Chief Justice, I understand you had lunch with my brother," he got so tongue-tied, he said, "I understand you had my brother for lunch."
No thanks.
And then John said, "I recognized what I said. Warren was flustered, and I just walked away. I couldn't say anything."
Okay. No, everybody was having that problem. No, they were all very available to people, to talk to them. No problem.
I got to ask the question because I'm an autograph collector. Was anybody getting autographs of these justices?
Nobody that I saw.
Yeah.
No, I think that would have been bad form.
Awful bad form.
Yeah, no, I don't think that
Even I would have had to stop, but probably would have thought about it.
No, I don't think so.
While Jackson was in Washington as a justice, do you recall whether the folks back in Jamestown followed his career as he was going?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
I can only speak for my dad, and he was very much aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, he subscribed to the federal reports, and he bought a complete set of transcript of the Nuremberg trial. Other things that happened, he was keeping up with.
Did you follow the Nuremberg trials?
Somewhat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a curiosity to me as to whether we in his hometown would have kind of watched it. Went for 10 months, the trials.
Oh, everybody was interested in it, but of course the underlying question of whether it should have happened was always discussed. Everywhere that I ever heard of, it was that kind of a discussion.
Whether there should have even been a trial?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Whether there was a right to try people who were in a war with you after the war was over and they'd lost. Sure, that's the basic question.
What do you think?
What do I think? When I see what's going on now with that fellow from South America, I wonder about it sometime. World War II was a different story. They just took it on themselves to beat everybody, and they had to. Something had to be done, I think. But the general proposition and that situation and what's going on other places, with respect even to World War II crimes currently, that's, I don't know. You have to sit back and take another look at it, I think.
Yeah. Interesting time. Charlie Goodell, switching gears here for a second. Did Charlie practice law in Jamestown?
Yeah.
Very long?
4 years, maybe.
Did he?
Yeah, he ran for the town board in Ellicott, and he tried a few cases. I only got right into politics.
What was the bug that got him going? Do you know?
Oh, I think he was built that way.
Was he?
Yeah, I don't think it. I think it came on him suddenly. No.
And then, in talking to John, he mentioned something I had never heard. That one of Charlie's interns in Washington, when he was senator, was Hillary Rodham Clinton.
Oh, I hadn't heard that.
I said, that's pretty interesting.
Well, at that time she was a Republican, wasn't she?
Probably a liberal, and it would have worked out wonderful, you know.
Oh.
That's terrific.
I don't know when she switched. Well, maybe not, if that was after law school.
Yeah.
Was it?
I don't know the timing. Charlie would have been senator from 1968 to 70. He was appointed after Kennedy's death.
Okay, I'm not sure where that goes with her timing.
It was
Well, she was a Republican when her father was the influence on her life, but I think after maybe the Yale influence took over,
Yeah.
she no longer was.
Watch out for those Ivy League guys, right?
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Did you have some things, any recollections of your father that, regarding Robert Jackson?
Oh yeah, and I got some of my father's correspondence out here.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he kept some things.
What?
In fact, my father was valedictorian at Ellington High School, and that gave him a right to choose the commencement speaker. And he asked Jackson, and Jackson was the speaker.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I got the.
Isn't that terrific? It's 1922.
Yeah.
And Jackson would have just been a lawyer, I should say just, but he would have been a lawyer here. And sure enough, valedictory, Alton Erickson. Wow.
Yeah.
So what impressed your dad at that young age to select Bob Jackson?
What impressed me about him?
Or him, your dad, did he say
My
why?
father, just because he was interested in maybe becoming a lawyer someday.
Yeah.
But he didn't really get a chance to do that until he got married, and my grandfather staked him to the tuition for the first semester.
Is that how that happened?
They got into law school, then he had the different kinds of benefits in law school. He got the job working in the library, which I think was in lieu of tuition. My mother worked, and he worked. Somehow they got through. It wasn't easy.
Oh, no. So
Then he went into an office for 2 years in Buffalo.
Did he?
Parsons and Blair.
Mm-hmm.
And from there he came back here and started practicing.
Was there an area of interest in your dad, or was he a general practitioner?
He was general.
General?
Yeah, he didn't specialize in any way.
Yeah.
He had types of law that he worked at.
Mm-hmm.
He had a lot of school districts and that sort of thing.
Oh, that's neat. What else do you have in that file there? Anything else Jackson related?
And here?
Yeah.
Yeah, here's one in 1941.
Thanks a lot for sending me the marked copy of the book, The People's World. It is a communist publication, and all of those fellows have stood on their heads the last few days and completely changed their position. I'm getting used to being abused by experts. And this was as he was attorney, just before he became selected to the court. It was 1941.
Oh, yeah. Well, he was Attorney General then.
Yeah. Oh, neat.
And here he is, 43.
Dear Alton, I have your letter and will be on hand Thursday evening. I appreciate the offer of a lawyer for the defense, but I will need more is a couple of darn good witnesses. Best wishes and looking forward to seeing you. Oh, Robert Jackson's from the Supreme Court.
Yeah, they read my dad's letter there along the way.
Oh, yes. Arrangements have been made for a Bar Association dinner at the Hotel Jamestown Thursday, September 2nd at 6:30. We are very pleased to learn that you can attend. The meeting will be confined to the members of the bar, but we are inviting those from the North End. It will be entirely informal. We hope, however, that some of the boys may recall things in your past that will give you the shivers. It would suggest you be prepared to defend yourself. If you think you will need counsel, it can be arranged. That's terrific. Now, would your...
So they kept up this kind of thing through the years.
Do you think because of this early involvement of your dad at the high school?
Well, when my dad got back here, of course, he went into politics.
Oh, okay.
In a sense that he was a member of the state committee and things like that. One time he said that he went to Albany expecting Jackson to be nominated for governor. This was a meeting of the state committee, but along the way they decided that it had to be somebody from New York City, so he wasn't nominated.
I'll be darned.
I think that was when Al Smith was nominated.
So your dad was involved in the Democratic Party, right?
At that point, yeah.
Yeah.
His father was a Republican, but he got involved in Democratic politics with his exposure to Jackson. That happened to a lot of them.
Yeah, I can imagine. Eugene Gerhard made the comment that Jackson certainly was political, probably with a small p, but had risen from his position just as a lawyer in Jamestown to the Supreme Court without having been elected to anything.
Oh yeah, he made the remark to Gerhard, and he tells about in the book there that there was no point in being a Democrat for purposes of being elected to anything in Chautauqua County.
Mm-hmm.
So he just stayed active in the party at the state level and kept on going. No, he had the point of that one very early.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. This is wonderful. You thought you wouldn't add anything to this.
Well, I'm too young to know very much, but these things have come secondhand for so long.
That's terrific. This is terrific.
And my dad kept things like this.
I'm glad he did. Now, so are you.
Well, he told me about them.
Yeah. Oh, that's terrific. Can I get a photocopy of those? Would that be possible?
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to create, hopefully, when this is all done, not only have the oral history, because I think that's important, but if I get the letter, from Rehnquist, and I've got some letters that Jackson sent out in 1912 to the state Democratic Party.
Saying I'd like to get active?
It was hilarious. He was active.
Oh, he was
He
already
was
active.
telling and pointing fingers at why Tammany wasn't doing its job, and boom, boom, boom.
Okay.
Very difficult. And that kind of stuff is really, it's fun, tongue-in-cheek, funny stuff.
It just shows what this connection was with Jamestowners during that period of time.
Exactly.
No.
And it's wonderful.
Well.
That's kind of a small town guy gets elevated not only to Nuremberg chief prosecutor, but to Supreme Court justice, and he still kind of remembers the small guy.
Yeah, he kept he was aware of what was going on, but he enjoyed talking to people back here, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Seems to be.
Yeah. And that's what I'm hearing from guys like you. Fun. You've been great. Thank you.
What are you going to do now?
I don't know what I'm going to do with this. What I would like to do is...
Is this, you say this is on or not on?
The part of this was on, yeah.
Part of it was on?
On the Jackson piece, we were getting that.
When what?
When you and I were talking about Bob Jackson, and your dad talking about this, it was on.
That was on.
Yep. So you look fine.
I'll bet.
What I did...
Is it on now?
I'll take it off. Yeah, take it off.
Got an absentee ballot.
Mm-hmm.
So after a lot of commotion, my father got an absentee ballot for him.
Is that right?
And when it was over, he asked what he could do for my dad, repay him for his efforts. And Dad said, "I never had a picture of your father. Did you get me a picture of your father?"
Wonderful.
And so he got one. It's in the library.
Oh, great.
As to my friend Alton Erickson, with a high regards of Robert H. Jackson.
Wonderful. Well, I'll have to take that to the video here before I leave.
No, we can get it and show it to you.
Yeah, I love that. Oh, this is great. This is wonderful. I appreciate that. If it's possible to get a photocopy of some of that,
Yeah,
that would be great.
let me send them to you.
Okay, that'd be great.
I'll work out all
Yeah.
this stuff.
Great. And I tell you what, I'm going to walk over to the library, and I can take a picture off of this here, so I'll just leave it on the wall.
Oh, you want to leave it on the wall?
Yeah.
I'll take it down. It'll make no difference to me.
Okay. Yeah.
I'll get it down for you.
That'd be great. Oh, this is great.